It is so impractical. It is so bad. It is so stupid that you have even people like Zuck or Elon Musk hoard more money than the pharaohs and realize that it's not giving them self-fulfillment, that it's not giving them real happiness, that it's not giving them purpose.
I, a black, handsome, freedom-loving capitalist business owner, become a communist. The handsome part's a little iffy, but it's a genuine
pretty handsome.
question I get. Why did you become a communist? You're a business owner. You loved capitalism. How did you actually change to that communism that unalived all those people? So since I was a kid, I was always a system-oriented person. I like thinking through systems and I like solving problems, and I was also just loved being social, right? So I just gradually just fell into the idea of being an entrepreneur, right? So from grade school, I was already coming up with different ways to make money. I was coming up with different ways to provide value, right? And then later on, I started my first company, which was called the Pro Hackers, which was like a ethical hacking and like a pen testing company when I was a little kid, but I didn't get any clients. And then I started my real first company, which was a marketing agency. And this marketing agency was specialized in focusing on growing social media. This is back when
Holy shit, why am I listening? This is not me, I swear. The parallels are crazy. The fucking parallels are crazy. Let's continue. I'm relating.
Instagram was like boxes, bro. Like, you remember that? Some of you aren't even old enough. And I was 11 years old running this little marketing agency online. And then
What, 11 years old running a marketing agency? Okay, I cannot relate to that one. Holy shit.
Started to do many different things, got into Bitcoin and did all this stuff growing up. I've been a business owner through and through since I was a kid, and I come from a family of business owners. So when I tell you that I was a capitalist in the fullest extent of saying that I want to be a business owning capitalist, even though businesses aren't capitalists, by the way, but that's a whole nother point. Then all of a sudden, I started using TikTok. And on the process of using TikTok, I came across what are now called comrades, those red people. And they started to push back on my ideas. I used to say that capitalism was the best. Capitalism led to innovation. Capitalism gave people out.
Yeah, same as me. I was a right-wing libertarian that believed that the free market can solve absolutely everything, and the reason we live like shit in the third world is because we're just stupid. I was doing self-inflicted fucking Orientalism, and then what happened? I went to the States and realized that wasn't the case, and it's actually dystopian as fuck, and the free market does not actually lead to immense pleasure and happiness, and that I watched too many fucking Hollywood movies. And then I was like, hey, that Marx guy that they taught me in first year of college, maybe I should check him out again, and everything changed.
Opportunities. You can work hard under capitalism, and everyone can eat, everyone can achieve, and everyone will be successful. Genuinely believe these ideas. I thought they
literally same story, but it took moving to Europe and talking to Euro liberals for me. There you go. You were just honest with yourself.
They were true, and I thought that my experience by building businesses and knowing how to solve problems and knowing how to talk to people, to pitch solutions,
20 yards of little guy, yeah, kind of boring motherfucker, bro,
and to get them to convert and sell was just proof. Except these comrades on TikTok continue to beat my ideas down time and time again. Ask me questions like, if capitalism is so good, why are millions of people dying of starvation? If capitalism is so...
Yeah, and it turns out you have a soul, so you actually listen to their arguments and you readjust it based on what you learned. Incredible thing. It's called being a normal human being. Thank you for being a normal human being. The bar is not very high. So when you see people that are constantly bombarded by adequately placed explanations of why not necessarily even they have to become commies or anarchists or whatever the fuck, but at least they can begin by being anti-capitalists, and you see them actively and sometimes even violently reacting against getting more information about how the system is fucked, respectfully, but that's called being a soulless fucking ratchet ass demon.
Good. Why do we have 7 houses for every 1 homeless person in America? If capitalism is so good, then why do people not have the ability to pay for their medical bills? If capitalism is so good, then why is 60% of America living paycheck to paycheck? If capitalism is so good, then why is it that 1% of the population owns majority of the wealth on this planet?
And the only way you can answer that without becoming a communist is by convincing yourself that maybe one day you will become one of the people that step instead of the people that are being stepped on. And that is the logic of a fucking disgusting parasite. And you also then de facto lose your humanity and should be not treated as such. You basically have to believe in quote unquote natural abilities, like certain people get fucked over and others don't. It's a skill issue, get better, etc., etc. And the only counter argument to this is systems are supposed to serve humans, not vice versa. A system can be defined not as unethical or any of that fucking, or immoral, or you don't even have to engage in that kind of conversation. It does not work when it is not delivering on what it is promising that it needs to deliver. And an economic system is supposed to serve humans. So if it starts acting in the opposite way of what it is intended to do, then that system needs to be changed. This is just utilitarian, simple thinking, but it's fucking correct. It is not about big, it's small. It is not about the same rules applying to everyone. It is not about what is ethical or what is unethical. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. For the vast majority of people, it doesn't work. Therefore, it needs to be replaced. It's as simple as that.
I couldn't come up with an answer because the best thing I could think of was, well, they just didn't work hard enough, or they didn't do what they were supposed to. They wasted their money. All of these things, this victim blaming mindset that it's that person's fault that they didn't succeed, because if I could do it, then you could do it. When I tell you that idea shattered, it was just broken apart into tiny little pieces that could never be recovered, is because I started to realize it's not that person's fault. It's not people's choice where they're born. It's not people's choice when people are born in impoverished neighborhoods and they grow up in schools that are underfunded with bad teachers that don't care about them. Whether you have underfunded schools that have 40 kids inside of a classroom versus a school that comes from a higher tax district.
Hey Hugo, how will we as communists after revolution eliminate certain bigotries and systems of oppression like white supremacy, misogyny, ableism, and so on? Because let's admit it's going to disappear if we just eliminate capitalism and don't use intersectionality. Exactly, you need to use intersectionality. It's a longer conversation, but it can be phrased in a very simple way. Right now, misogyny, transphobia, ableism, etc., is so prevalent because there is a system in place that constantly agitates for those ways of thought to continue dominating. Once the class issue is resolved, that does not resolve all those other issues, but it removes from the equation an active agitation towards those things. Don't think about your boss, think about women, think about people that don't look like you. Think about trans people, think about the goddamn gays and them blacks, etc., etc. Those already ingrained and developed perspectives, which obviously are disgusting and are just going to disappear the second we get rid of the capitalist dichotomy. But they will be much, much easier to address because they will no longer be actively stimulated by the system we find ourselves in. So basically, it will become possible to do that. It will not be pushing a boulder up a mountain, because it's not going to be a mountain to be pushing against.
That only has 12 to 10 students, so the teacher is able to focus on the development of each student, or where kids in underprivileged communities have access to technology that is like a decade old, while kids in more tax-rich areas actually have technology that is new, up to date. The inequalities that are found within the capitalist system sets people up from failure from their beginnings.
There you go, smart person. Exactly. You start like the thing that the big pitch that it's an equal playing field and you just need to outplay someone else. Once you realize that pitch is absolute bullshit, that it's a literal lie, even if you were a capitalism stan because you were like, this is the fucking game and you just gotta outplay everyone else, also flies out of the window as an argument. It's a smart person, but more importantly, a decent human being normally coming to these sorts of conclusions. When it doesn't happen because there is quite literally trillions of dollars invested in 10,000 different both right-wing and liberal media structures that are created to make you feel like you're a based giga-chad if you actually do believe that billions deserve to starve because reason X. Being a communist and being a brat mutually exclusive, or can I be both brat and a communist? You can be a brat. You can be a brat, not a brat. A brat is a bro instead of a Croatian. The creators in chat. Hello. Very nice video. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And we like to paint
a small world.
Picture that. Well, that person worked hard and he made it out the hood.
You have the link pinned to their channel. Go give them a follow. Oh, follow back. Oh, lovely. I think I'm watching this from the Deprogram channel that we haven't uploaded for millennia.
And he's the proof that anyone can do it. Except he is the exception to the rule that says that when you don't have enough under capitalism, you will most likely stay not having enough under capitalism. Then even when I took it internationally, when we used to watch those videos of give 99 cents a day to a poor African boy and you'll allow him to eat, these videos that we were propagandized and indoctrinated with to believe that the continent of Africa was a poor backwater continent with nations in it, with people that lived in tribes and tents. I genuinely believed that people in Africa lived in tribes and tents, bro. Africa was such a poor continent with poor people. But then I started to realize Africa's not poor. You don't go to poor places to get gold.
Yellow Parenti, bro. Yellow Parenti enters chat. Let's go. For example, just that quote from Yellow Parenti, especially for people whose heritage comes from the so-called developing world or who themselves to this day live in the developing world, is a massive switch up because it completely removes self-orientalization from the fucking conversation.
Lithium. You don't go to poor places to get copper. You don't go to poor places to get all of the rare earths. Or the raw earth, as
There's some niche fighting about Moldova in chat. I'm so confused.
calls them, from a poor place. So clearly there's something going on here as to why Africa looks like that and my country looks like this. And when I started asking these questions, I started to come to the realizations because these people on TikTok kept pounding me in the head. Bro, that's wrong. That is wrong. Here is the evidence. You are wrong. And I started to realize, why is there a boss and an employee? Why does the boss not have to do work? Why does a shareholder not have to do work? And the employee does all of the work for the business, does everything from start to finish.
Because chat, they invested and like they put their name on the line and like they did the big grind before the employees, so they deserve the fruits of their labor, chat. I have erectile dysfunction.
But yet
Sorry.
The employee generates
the risk
$1,000 a day and gets paid $50 for that day's worth of labor. And then the boss makes $950 off of that person's day of labor. Why is it that an employee wants to get paid the most they can, but a boss wants to pay an employee the least they can? Why does that happen? Why is it that all of the rich countries start war in the places that are so-called poor, and all of a sudden, all of their corporations of the rich countries find contracts to get resources and minerals from the countries that they supposedly started a war with? I got answers to these questions. It became blaring. It became obvious that clearly the system...
There's no crazy evil cabal sitting in a room and deciding all of these things. They are defined as normal by a system, and not only as normal, but they are stimulated by the system we find ourselves in, to repeat ad nauseum. And there is such incredible strength to that truth because it just starts making sense. It starts actually making sense. Life no longer feels like it's just random events absolutely everywhere. And to a very large extent, it still is. But when it comes to the cause and effect of labor, of money, of so-called success, of hyper-exploitation, of imperialism, etc., 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 you realize that, oh, is it a coconut? Did you just fall out of a tree? But quite literally, you realize it's not inherent to our species. You start hating your species less. You stop hating your species because you realize that it is a system manipulating us into serving it instead of ourselves. And then you start living, finally. So while it's beautiful as a mechanism and tool for us to potentially exchange it with a system that will serve us better, it is also, just from an individualist perspective, also a great contributor to living a more fulfilling life. There's no loss at it.
system of capitalism was not a system that led to innovation. It stifled innovation. Because when those companies come out that compete with Amazon, guess what Amazon does? Here's $1 billion check, and now take that business and shelve it. We're not using it. That can't compete with us. Or when that new technology comes out and it rivals Google, go buy up all of those AI companies and just conglomerate them into one Google AI. That's not benefiting innovation, because capitalism says that monopolies are inherent into the system of capitalism. It says that your job as a business owner is to grow and grow and grow and grow, to take as much of the market as you.
Can we at least say particular individual members of our species who are vital cogs in the machine? You think you can. Should you? You need to answer by yourself. But here in this chat, some people call it a LARP, but I actually believe in it. There is greater value in when it comes to understanding just how bad the system is for the entirety of our species, by realizing that it unironically actually also does harm even the wealthiest members of our society. It is so impractical, it is so bad, it is so stupid that you have even people like Zuck or Elon Musk hoard more money than the pharaohs and realize that it's not giving them self-fulfillment, that it's not giving them real happiness, that it's not giving them purpose. I think that is much more impactful. Explaining that is much of a heavier hammer to put down than by, constantly pointing at particular individuals who are class traders, etc., members of the bourgeoisie, blah, 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 and calling them enemies, etc., etc. I'm not saying this as we should feel for them. No, fuck them. But we should use it as extremely strong rhetoric to say, even if you do become the boot, you will also not be happy as the boot that steps instead of being stepped on. There's no self-fulfillment through accumulating money. There isn't. Do these fuckers look happy to you? One of them is rebranding themselves as Giga Chad Man, I love masculinity. The other one's is a fucking junkie with 20 fucking kids trying to fuck up the U.S. economy because, I don't know, reasons. Do these people look happy to you? No, they don't. So even being the boot also sucks. So let's all take off the fucking boot, please.
Can and steal customers from your competitors. When these things started to make sense to me, and then finally the cherry on top was reading communist literature, reading the Communist Manifesto, which is like a good 6 out of 10. It's not that good. But then reading Lenin's work, reading Mao's work, actually reading Stalin's work, reading the work of communists that started to actually explain why these things were the way that they are. Reading and understanding from black revolutionaries like George Jackson.
Stalin is carrying the hose. Exactly. That was my metaphor, but more alpha coded. Gen alpha coded. I'm no longer talking to Zoomers in chat. You guys are irrelevant. We only talk to Gen alphas now, okay? Zoomers, those old people. Imagine being a Zoomer and thinking you're still young. That's hilarious.
Actually reading and understanding from W.D. Du Bois, actually getting the systems that exist inside of the American system, inside of the global international politics and economics. Once I understood that oppression and exploitation were the actual driving factors of capitalism, I couldn't be a capitalist. Because why would I want to uphold a system that exploits people? Why would I want to uphold a system that has people not being able to afford basic necessities? Why would I want a system where we have the technology to feed everyone on the planet, but yet 21,000 people died in 2022 right here in America from starvation? That 1 in every 7 children right here in America are facing malnutrition. Who wants to keep and uphold a system like that? Not me. So I became a communist. I became a communist because I cared about people. I've always cared about people. And I wanted to actually come up with solutions that would solve the problems for people, that would give people a house, that would give people...
It turns out a fucking Santa Claus looking alcoholic motherfucker from Germany kind of figured it out. And then we learned from it, and then we agitated for it. Absolutely. Chat, normal, ethical person, meet each other, who happens to also be a chatter, which is base as shit. But yeah, there you go. This is called being normal.
Food that
That's
would
smart, obviously, but more importantly, normal. There's plenty of smart motherfuckers that are not normal.
give people medical care, that would give people education, so that we can focus on what it takes to develop as a society to improve the lives of the society, to improve the civilization as a whole, and not to benefit individuals, the 1%, while you have bootlickers that kiss Elon Musk's Twitter and tweets and say how great he is for sending spaceships to Mars that they'll never be able to ride. Once I understood that, you can't help but be a communist. And that's exactly why you should be a communist today.
Absolutely. Globalthink.info. Give them a follow. Basic shit.
Did you know that the United States...
Thank you, Robo. Robo sometimes sends me a good link. Thank you, Robo.